Hi, everyone. I hope you're doing well on this chilly spring day. I'm not feeling that great, but I could not let you go into the weekend without some jewels from me. So here we go. The first jewel I have for you is about how to process 360 feedback. I've had over the past 2 weeks 12 or something 360 debriefs with people. And as anyone who has participated in a 360 knows, there's a wealth of feedback and it can be very overwhelming. So the jewel is to think about where to start. I suggest that you focus on the intersection of what you care about personally, what matters to you to focus on, and what you know will give you the best bang for your buck professionally. So where there's an intersection between what you want to work on and what matters most for performance of your job. That's a really good place to start actioning the feedback from a 360. The second jewel I have for you is about being very mindful, particularly as you ascend in your leadership, about the feedback culture you're creating in your organization. Ideally, feedback should be direct and clear. There should be regular cadence and there should be open lines of communication, and feedback should not be unusual. Feedback should be given generously and frequently, and people should be receptive to feedback. That's my model of a healthy organization. I do want to point to one particularly challenging paradigm of feedback delivery and feedback, relationship to feedback. So what happens when people who report to one person are able to go around that person and give feedback to their manager's boss? Feedback including complaints, all sorts of feedback. Even though these people interface regularly with their manager, talk to them on a regular basis, they're consistently going around to their manager's boss. As you can imagine, there are several problems with this paradigm. First of all, we're not clear on whether that feedback is confidential. First of all, we're not sure if the feedback is confidential, but also, not surprisingly, the manager's boss needs to give that feedback. So, manager's boss will give the feedback. It's through his lens, not directly from these people. But most importantly, this undermines the authority and agency of the manager to really solve this problem and deal with the feedback directly. Now, there may be very legitimate reasons why the people don't feel like they can give direct feedback to their manager. There could be potentially an array of toxic situations that would explain why somebody would go around to that person's boss. And some of those situations may be real and legitimate and need to be addressed. But more often than not, it is because there's a sense where this person feels like they need to be hearing this feedback. They have some responsibility in kind of being accessible, making themselves available. What they need to be doing, that person's manager needs to be doing, instead of providing a lot of airtime and space for the complaints and the feedback, figure out how to engage the direct report and the manager so that they can kind of work on this together. What's in the way of providing direct feedback? How can the manager's boss, it's getting confusing, I know, with all the people, facilitate a healthier relationship so that direct feedback is the default, not the exception? It's really important because what happens, again, over time is the undermining of authority, but also there's a certain way in which the people who are going around have a different level of entitlement than they should be having in a functioning organization around the experience they're having at work. So the jewel here is to be really mindful of how you're creating, what kind of feedback culture you're creating, what you can be responsible in your behavior, so as to create a more healthier feedback environment. I'm getting tongue-tied today. Hopefully that was clear-ish. My last jewel is, this also has to do with when you're a senior leader, thinking about thinking about the impact of your communication, how what you say or don't say might actually land versus what you intend. So my view is that the more senior you get in your leadership, the more you have to pay attention to the impact of what you say. You're a leader. People listen to you. They follow you. They look at your body language. They look at how you're communicating. So you have to be more mindful and more thoughtful about, am I hitting the target? Are people hearing what I intend for them to hear? Are they getting from what I say what I want them to get? Recently, senior leadership in an organization has a forum where they answer questions. And one of the questions that was put in anonymously was about the organization's approach to summer Fridays and to meeting etiquette so that meetings aren't scheduled during lunch and people get a break. And the leader responded in an open forum to the organization essentially saying, we're not going to take a position on that. It's up to you to figure that out. And probably said it nicer than that, but that was how it was received. So my client, who's one level below the senior leadership team, the way she experienced this was, on one hand, she felt like, okay, we're empowered to do our own thing. But she also felt like, okay, well, they take positions on a lot of other things. So maybe they just don't care about this. They don't care about this. It sends the message that they're not invested in work-life integration, and they don't really need to take a position, and they're just going to sort of let it all play out the way it plays out. Her feeling was they need to be leading by example, to be setting the tone for how the organization should be making decisions about meeting etiquette and giving people some space during the summer to take more breaths. So what we worked on in coaching is how she's going to deliver this feedback in an upward way, because we both sort of agreed that it was likely not the intention to convey this particular meaning, but that the leader needs to pay more attention to how these messages are landing. Hope you got something from this today. Have a great weekend.